Wanted tonic. Not much hype. The most wanted parfum. Hype. Forever wanted elixir and now forever wanted Absolu? Question mark. Hey friends, Ash here, welcome back to Gents. Hope you're doing well. As you can see, the new forever wanted Absolu is upon us. It popped up for sale at Dillard's and I scooped myself a bottle. The question we need to answer, does Forever Wanted Absolu take the new Forever Wanted line and raise it to the levels of the Most Wanted or beyond? Or does it... That's what we're gonna talk about. So as I said, guys, this one is for sale at Dillard's. I'll have it linked in the description in case you want to check it out. Let's go ahead and take a look at the presentation. First, we have the box, which I actually really like the color scheme here. You have on the front the name of the fragrance, name of the house, size and concentration. It is a parfum concentration. Up top, you have a lot of that information once again. You have the name of the fragrance, you have the size, you have the name of the brand. On one side, you have Azzaro once again, just in case you forgot which brand you were purchasing. And it says, life is a celebration. Step into the light and enjoy the moment. It's your time to shine. Thank you, Azzaro. I was feeling down about today, but now I feel great. On the back, you have your ingredient information, your precautions, and your barcode. And on the bottom, you'll find your badge code. Mine is 38Z001K. And here we have the bottle. It has the same gold top as Forever Wanted Elixir, but then the bottom looks more like the Most Wanted Parfum. On the bottom, you have a sticker with your badge code. The cap does click into place, and the cap does feel very plasticky. If you go back to say the original Wanted, it feels heftier. The top, the cap, just the whole deal, ever so slightly denser with the original. And a lot of the earlier releases, they have slimmed down a little bit. And you know what we gotta do? We gotta share some sprays, so let's do that. Atomizer is okay. Still not great, but a little better than some of the atomizers that they've had here recently. So as I said, guys, as of right now, this is at Dillard's. I would imagine before too long, it starts popping up pretty much everywhere. I'll have it linked in the description below, and also a quick update on the codes. New code for fragflex.com, it is Gents10. That'll get you 10% off the entire website. You can use it multiple times. So anytime you shop at Fragflex, use that code. Then of course, I've also got codes for Beauty House, the Perfume Box, Gift Express, Fragrance World, and more. So anytime you shop those stores, use those codes, save yourself a little extra cash. All right, Forever Wanted Absolu. This one has a really simplistic note breakdown. Basically incense, whiskey, vanilla, and amber woods. And that is par for the course with Azzaro nowadays. 3 note breakdowns, kind of what they've been doing. And I gotta tell you guys, Forever Wanted Absolu does not really open how I expected. I'm not sure exactly what I expected, to be fair, but when you spray this on for a split second, it has like a cave quality to it. I know that's gonna sound weird, but it has this icy earthiness. Yeah, like icy earthiness with deep booziness. So for a split second there, it has this cool, almost dank, mineral-ish kind of vibe going on. And the first time I sprayed this on a tester strip and had my wife take a whiff right off the top, she recoiled in horror. Yeah, not a fan. That initial opening with this fragrance is gonna be a little make it or break it for some people. Now, I'm not saying it stays full-on dank cave the whole way. That really is just kind of a split second when you first spray it on. Like, let me get a fresh strip here and go ahead and spray it. Pop, pop. Yeah, after about 3 to 4 seconds, if you take a whiff, it does have this earthy aspect to it. But as I said, an icy aspect at the same time. So just a little strange when you first spray it on if you don't know what to expect. It does open up really quickly after that, so I don't want to keep harping on it and act like that lasts forever. It doesn't. Pretty quickly, it takes on kind of a warming, woody aspect. And that's alongside a spiced, sweet tinged whiskey vibe. As that woodiness develops, you start picking up an aromatic edge along the outside of the fragrance, kind of like a little hint of lavender in there. And as that lavender settles in, it gives the fragrance more of a groomed structure. So it starts to feel more put together, a little bit more mature. The sweetness has a really nice faint fizziness to it as it evolves on your skin. That earthy aspect from the opening, that steps into the background. You know, it's not as in your face as in those first few seconds when you first spray it on. And as it opens up through the rest of the opening, it smooths out really well. So it's gonna be one of those fragrances where if you judge it immediately, you could think this stuff is awful. You could think it's just complete garbage. But if you let it settle on your skin, you start to pick up all these other nuances and it becomes way more appealing. So just be aware, if you see this in a store, you spray it on, you're gonna have to let it settle. You know, don't make a snap decision on this. And as it heads into the mid, everything starts to click into place. Everything starts to make sense. That incense note that this has starts to come up, but it's not a churchy incense. So you're not gonna be dealing with like a big blast of smoke and heavy darkness. Instead, it's more like a smoky, spicy edge to the whiskey note that's in here. Almost makes me think of like a cocktail, a whiskey-based cocktail. And sometimes you'll have cocktails where they'll smoke the glass, right? So it's kind of like that. The way the incense works together with that whiskey, you could think of it that way, just as a smoked cocktail, if it were a cocktail based solely around whiskey. No sugary sweet mixers or anything like that. And another cool thing, through the mid, you pick up a little bit of a chocolatey vibe to the fragrance. Now, not dessert chocolate or anything like that, more like just little bits of chocolate placed alongside that cocktail. It comes across more like a bar pairing than it does a gourmand fragrance. The vanilla amberwood aspect of the fragrance also starts to come up, but it's not the star of the show. It's not trying to overwhelm everything. It's not overly sugary sweet. It's more so shoring up the edges of the fragrance, you know, making it come across a little bit smoother with a nice light sweetness underneath. And any of that earthiness that you might have picked up in the opening by this point is gone. It's faded to the background and out of sight. Through the mid, it smells like that type of fragrance you want to spray on before you go out on a night on the town when it's really cold outside. It's got a nice masculine feel to it. Comes across, like I said, a little bit more mature, and it would cut right through the cold. Now into the dry down, that incense that I mentioned, it actually becomes more noticeable. So the longer it stays on your skin, the more that one kind of creeps up. It starts working hand in hand with the woodiness, and in the dry down, it becomes more of a dry woody fragrance with incense kind of overhead, and then that vanilla is still giving just a light little push, you know, trying to make it a little more palatable to more people. In the dry down, it feels like the type of fragrance that would be at home in a wood-filled lounge. Again, with a whiskey cocktail in hand, but that sort of vibe. The dry down is the most classy, masculine part of the scent, and for that matter, this right here, I would say, is the least youthful leaning of any of the fragrances in the lineup. And I'm talking about all of them. The Wanted line, the Forever Wanted line, the Most Wanted line. I guess they're all technically like the same line, but different.
Same, but different.
This one right here is the most grown up of all of the fragrances to me. Instead of going really sweet, instead of going extremely vanilla forward, instead they've got a fragrance here that is more boozy, woody, dry, spicy, with that really interesting opening and just the right touch of vanilla to keep everything wearable. It's not a loud sugary bomb, it's not bubblegummy like the original Wanted, it's obviously not one of their fresher fragrances where they're trying to just appeal to everybody. In this lineup, it is really different. And in terms of performance, this stuff lasts. The atomizer is still so it's not really spraying out a huge amount of fragrance each time you press the atomizer down, but this stuff lasts. It's long lasting, it's potent, it's made to be worn in cold weather. It comes across that way, it performs that way. Which means, of course, in terms of seasonality, fall and winter. That's when I would wear this. Spring, maybe really early spring, like I've said with other fragrances, you know, if it's still cold where you are, but outside of that, once it starts to heat up, I wouldn't go for this. And to me, it leans more toward evening use. It has that feel to it. It feels like the type of scent that you expect to smell on a night out. Bars, lounges, dinners, nighttime events, you know, things like that. So when it comes to Forever Wanted Absolu, how does it fit in with everything else in the lineup? Who would this be best for? Well, as I've talked about a couple times, the opening is very important. It can be challenging. And I'll say the first time I smelled it, I thought the opening, what's the word? Sucked. I was not a fan the first time that I smelled this. I thought this is wrong. I don't know what they put in this bottle, but it is not what it should be. To be fair though, as I've worn it a few more times, I've come around to it a bit. I know what it's gonna smell like, so I'm like anticipating it, and then when I get hit with it, I'm like, okay, yeah, there it is. But I would say for some people, you know, some women out there especially, if you spray this on and they smell it immediately, I'm talking first 15 seconds, 25 seconds, the reaction might not be very good. Like I mentioned before, my wife legitimately recoiled. So you could get that reaction. But as it dries down, the mid is way, way more pleasant, much easier to wear at that point, way more appealing. Also, decently unique through the mid. You could draw maybe some comparisons to some other fragrances out there that are more in this, you know, warm, boozy kind of vibe. But this is kind of doing its own thing. It's not really, you know, directly copying something else. So I dig that. And then once you get that dry down, dry, masculine, woody, spicy with remnants of that booze, a little touch of vanilla, pretty good. Now, all this said, I don't see this fragrance selling like hotcakes. And I could be completely wrong, but this is why. When most people, whether we're talking guys or girls or whatever, go into a fragrance store, they grab themselves one of these, and they'll grab the fragrance, and they'll go ahead and do this. And that immediate smell that they get, that's what they judge. So if they smell this one and the opening doesn't capture them right away, they'll go, ugh. Next. And I could see that happening with this one. I think this is a fragrance made more so for people who dig fragrances, if that makes any sense. But if you're somebody who is tired of the vanilla wave of fragrances that have been coming out here recently, you know, all of them kind of in that same ballpark of vanilla plus gourmand note kind of put together, or also that sort of myself-ish vibe, you know, very clean and fresh and very easy to wear. If you don't really like those kind of style of fragrances, which are really popular right now, this could be kind of an interesting alternative because it's not doing either of those things. I mean, technically it does have vanilla, it's just not used in that same kind of way. So there it is, Forever Wanted Absolu. There are some positives and some negatives. Performance is good, it's a little bit different than the other things out there. The mid and the dry down are classy, but they do have a little bit of a mature lean to them. The main con is gonna be the opening is not gonna work for a lot of people. If you're looking for something that's more youthful, this is also not gonna work for you. And if you're looking for something really versatile, probably won't work for you either. It's a little more of a, like I said, fall, winter, evening specific scent. So there it is, Forever Wanted Absolu. For me, I like it once it hits the mid and the dry down, the opening a little iffy. I want to thank you guys for hanging with me. Stay safe out there, take care of yourselves. See you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.